I know you.
Sir, here.
This is why.
I'm going to speak in Irish entirely because I know that all the people here understand what they're speaking about. So I'm going to conscious Greg and Tamar Fad. Mackenzie, Mayor Worthington, Noelette, Frank, ladies and gentlemen, may I say first of all that it's a pleasure for me to be here with you on what is an historic occasion. At the end of an era and the beginning of a new era and a new journey for this centre, for all associated with it, and for the Irish in the Luton area. I'd like to say that it's a privilege to come here as the leader of my country, as the Taoiseach, or the Prime Minister as its equivalent is here in Britain. I want you to know this morning that I had a very good meeting with the British Prime Minister. No new year has ever started with as strong a relationship as now exists between Ireland and Britain. Our trading links between our two countries are of critical importance to jobs and manufacturing and productivity and the economies of both our countries like the way they've never been before. We have political peace in Ireland, in the north. And I want you to know that both governments, as the co-guarantors of the Good Friday Agreement, are working very closely together to see that that peace that was so difficult to win, and which can be very fragile at times, is maintained in the interests of the people and the communities of Northern Ireland. And we discussed that this morning in Downing Street as well. I want you to understand that we're working very closely together to give even more effective demonstration to the close trade links that exist between Ireland and Britain. In that sense, energy, food, manufacturing, financial services, pharmaceuticals, all of these areas are of tremendous importance to jobs being maintained in Ireland and indeed in Britain. Trade both ways is very important. I'll meet the Prime Minister again in the not too distant future. We'll give further examples of that. I also want you to know that we support very strongly the efforts by the British government here to see that the single act of the European Union is developed to its full potential, because it's in Ireland's interest that the economies of Europe prosper and thrive, because we're an exporting nation and other countries buy our products and our goods. And that means that jobs can be created, and jobs can be maintained, and jobs can be kept at home. Politics, first and last, is about people, about their lives, about their families, and about their futures. Where I come from in the west of Ireland, scenes like this on the wall here are very home to home in many respects. And I know from the tradition of where I come that the difficulties of forced emigration because of economic circumstances are something that is deeply embedded in the DNA of our people. In my political career, we've seen occasions where many people have left our shores for foreign lands. Many people in this room left Ireland when times were very different, when times were very difficult. You came here to a new country and made your way and contributed both to the economy of Great Britain and to the good life and the well-being of your people at home. I commend you for what you've done over the years, for the reputation and the status that you have maintained for our country, and for the pride that I know you feel here in Luton today. Obviously, Ireland and many countries in the world are now going through difficult times from an economic perspective. We are in a programme with the Troika that is made up of the European Commission, the European Central Bank and the International Monetary Fund. We are meeting all of those conditions of that programme, but unfortunately many people have left Ireland in the last number of years and are still leaving. That doesn't mean that we should wallow in desperation or disillusionment or despair, because what I see in front of me are people who dealt with adversity in the past in a pragmatic way and rose to the challenge of dealing with what you had to deal with. And I want you to understand that since last March, when the people elected the government which I lead, they did so on the basis of implementing a programme that would restore the quality of our public finances, that will see to it that we make the structural changes in our country that will restore our public finances to a healthy state, and that we will work relentlessly in the pursuit of the creation of jobs, the opening of doors and initiatives to people who want to invest in for the creation of jobs, and keep that opportunity very much alive for our people. I want you to know as well that Ireland continues to be a very attractive location for investment from abroad, particularly from foreign investment, because they look at our corporate tax rate, which is 12.5%, they look at our education system, they look at the quality of our young people emerging from universities and colleges of technology, be they in science and innovation or research, and they are very happy with that quality. The world we live in will change utterly in the next decade because of the advances that will be made through the internet, through genetics, biotechnology, robotics, nanomedicine, and so on. These changes will affect the lives of hundreds of millions of people throughout the globe, whether we like it or whether we don't. Irish manufacturers, Irish engineers, Irish innovators, Irish researchers play their part in that. Many of them will be EU relations. It's my duty and my responsibility as head of government to see that those young people, those creators of the future, those people who are defining the next horizon, will be given their opportunity to live and work in our own country if that's what they want to do. Look at the... Believe you me, it's not all doom and gloom. There are some very strong and positive things happening in Ireland, like the entire agri sector, which you know about yourselves, food, innovation, research, beef, dairy, foodstuffs, fish, all of these things are in double-digit figures insofar as exports are concerned. And they look at Ireland now as being a place of competence, a place of confidence, where standards are high, where food quality is excellent in terms of health, and we intend to keep that moving. I want to say this publicly here in Luton. It was my privilege as Taoiseach of the country to receive on behalf of the people of Ireland, following the request that was extended by former President Mary McAleese to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth to come to Ireland and to receive her in Áras in Luton and to attend at a number of the functions at which she attended. Understand that Her Majesty, having over 60 years of experience as the reigning monarch here in Britain, that this was the first occasion in 100 years that a reigning monarch visited the Republic of Ireland. From that point of view, great credit is due to two powerful women, former President Mary McAleese and Queen Elizabeth, for bringing this to fruition, because I want you to understand that she did everything that she could to ensure that that circle of history was closed, and it was closed when she addressed the Irish nation in Dublin Castle, the former symbol and seat of the British Empire in Ireland for so many hundred years. She closed that circle of history. She recognised the Irish dead who fought and rose and died in rebellions for independence over the centuries. She recognised the contribution. She recognised the contribution of so many Irish men, in particular, who fought in the uniform of the British Army in First and Second World Wars, in the case of the Great War, to fight for the freedom of small nations and for king and country. They were not recognised when they came back, those who survived the presence of Her Majesty and her understanding of the sensitivity of both of these major issues symbolically was a very powerful signal around the world. The consequences are that Irish people warmed to her work in coming to Ireland on an official visit, and the surge in tourism interest has been palpable since. So those of you who are here now in Luton understand that you carry on your forehead the brand of our country, and you can tell your neighbours to take the plane over on a boat. They're going to get good value, a great experience, really good bargains. And if you want to drop into government buildings for a cup of coffee, while we might be in an austerity programme, I think we'll be able to rise to the old cup of tea anyway. Now I'd like to say that this is a great centre here. I know of the work that you do, I know of the advice that you give, I know of the help that you give to people in everything from filling forms to advising them of their rights and the opportunities that exist for them, be it in education or social services or leisure or whatever. And that's very important. I want you to understand that despite the fact that we have difficult economic circumstances, I want to see a situation where we maintain a strong programme for dealing with frontline services through our centres here in Great Britain. This is a wonderful building, and I want to thank you, Lord Mackenzie, for your continued support over the years, and Noel for what you do. I know the Hordens from Partry. I know them. This fella here, you see, he wears the red and green tie because, like the rest of us, he's not afraid to say from where he comes. Now, Frank and I have a little joint venture. You don't know about this yet, but we're only two of several 100,000 who want our beloved county to bring back our long-lost relative, Mr. Sam Maguire. And he said to me upstairs, "May I ask you a question?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Isn't it true that you have the biggest parliamentary majority in the history of the Irish state?" And I said, "That's right, Frank." Well, then he said, "You should use it and you should legislate for your beloved county to win the All-Ireland before I die."